Hi, this weekend I watched The Big Sleep, the 1946 film noir starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. It's the story of private investigator Philip Marlowe, who is hired to investigate a case of apparent blackmail against the wayward younger daughter of a wealthy man in Los Angeles. However, as he tracks the apparent blackmailer, he discovers that he's now been murdered, and so gets caught in an increasingly complex web of intrigue and mystery. This is widely hailed as a classic. It's based on Raymond Chandler's novel and is probably the best known of the Philip Marlowe books, and was in fact remade in the late 70s with Robert Mitchum. But I was not impressed by this at all. Um, for all the brilliant direction by Howard Hawks and the terrific performances and the great dialogue and the exciting and suspenseful scenes, it's almost impossible to follow what's actually happening. I had no idea what was going on after the first 20 minutes or so. It was impossible to actually follow the story because it is so complex and so um, poorly laid out for the audience, even though there is an additional scene added about halfway through that recaps most of the film so far so that the audience can try and keep up. It's pretty much incoherent. There is a story that when they were writing the script, they didn't know who one of the characters had been killed by. So Chandler himself was contacted and he couldn't even remember. So nobody actually properly understood the story. No one actually understood how the sequence of events we're seeing is supposed to properly fit together. And the result is a film that is hugely unsatisfying because of that. It had been shot in 1944, and after a test screening, it was decided to reshape the material to emphasize the budding romance between Bogart and Bacall. And this is not the core of the movie. This is simply just playing on audience interest. In it, the movie just becomes an exploitation picture because it's exploiting audience's interest rather than actually telling its own story. It's being led by audience interest rather than led by the artistry of the filmmaker. And the result is a film. I think the version that I watched, I believe, was the earlier cut. A film that sacrifices um, coherence for superficial character interest. As I say, it's generally well directed. It has suspenseful scenes. It has some really terrific dialogue, and Bogart in what is pretty much his signature role, aside from Rick Blaine in Casablanca, is superb and hugely engaging and watchable. I particularly like the sequence where he's uh, in a very basic disguise with his hat brim turned up and a pair of dark glasses as a bookish type investigating a used books shop. Um, and just with a subtle twist of performance, Bogart's playing it for humour, and it's very clever and very subtle and witty. But individual scenes don't connect. Storylines don't cohere. Character motivations get lost. There are too many people doing too many things too quickly without explaining what those things actually are. And the result is a film which I feel doesn't really deserve its reputation in any way. It's superficially entertaining as you're watching it. But as I say, only even a third of the way through, I was completely lost and I never found my way back.